What's happening, everybody? I am honoured and delighted to welcome the one and only Boovie onto the channel. We are going to be talking about Manchester City and where did it all go wrong. An Oasis reference for you there, Boovie. What on earth is happening?
Well, it's past tense, Rory. It hasn't finished yet. We've got a lot of football to be played. We're still in the FA Cup, just about. We've got to play Arsenal, Champions League, of course. But yeah, look, what we saw against Southampton, that was probably even worse than Man United, or to some extent, and obviously against Man United, absolutely embarrassing. With the money in that squad, we might have to just sit there and say, as City fans, that we're in more of a transitional season than anyone ever thought we would be in.
Is there anything in this theory? And now, obviously, I have a relationship with the footballer that I'm about to mention, so I'm optimistic in your answer here. But is there anything in this suggestion? It sounds ridiculous, but you've brought in a player with proven quality, excellent finisher, wonderful goal record in Erling Haaland. Is there anything in suggesting that bringing in Erling Haaland has actually made you a worse footballing side?
Uh, Yeah, I can say that now. You gave me that argument before the World Cup when he'd scored, 20 goals in 13 games or whatever it was. And I couldn't sit there and justify that because I hadn't seen us lose big games. I hadn't really, we hadn't even played Arsenal at that point. That game got delayed. So we had, a couple of big games against Spurs got moved. So we haven't seen City struggle until after the World Cup. And now we've seen it happen. Haaland against United looked very confused. He looked very, very. It's probably his worst performance in a City shirt. It's probably the worst performance he's had in years. He dropped deep, but when he was dropping deep, he wasn't drawing anyone with him. United were happy to just let him drop deep, link up play, and not really do anything of note. And if you've got the big thing is, we're talking about the game. Obviously, we met the day after the Manchester derby. We chatted about it. No one in the room when we were talking about the game said that Luke Shaw was playing at centre back against Erling Haaland. No one mentioned
Yeah.
that that wasn't a factor that anyone talked about. How is that? How is that a thing? How is Eric Ten Hag, who got smashed by Brighton in his first ever game as Man United manager,
Smashed by City as
smashed by
well.
City 6, Brentford 4. He's managed to turn it around within 6 months, where he's got Luke Shaw as a fullback playing as a centre back, not in a back three protected with two other
Mm.
centre backs, but in a back two, and Erling Haaland gets no jumps on him, no runs at him.
Mm.
It's crazy. The big thing is it's the build up around him. The build up's so slow. I mean, De Bruyne's completely out of form. Bernardo Silva doesn't want to be there, in my opinion. I think he looks apathetic. Ilkay Gundogan, who didn't start against United, looks slow, looks languid. We're playing Phil Foden out of position. He needs to be brought into midfield as soon as possible. I don't get why he's been played on the wing. He had one touch in 30 minutes of football in the first half. It's crazy. And actually, the big thing is, City fans that maybe, Chelsea fans watching this video or general football fans, Rico Lewis has been the shining light for City for the last 4 weeks. He's an 18-year-old fullback, and he's been asked to tuck inside as an inverted kind of fullback to knock the ball around. He's knocked the ball around as quick as anyone, and it's got us results. It helped us beat you lot at
Mm.
Stamford Bridge when he came on. So, yeah, we're in a world of pain around Erling Haaland.
What's the answer here then? The answer can't be, or is it? Is the answer drop Erling Haaland and play Julian Alvarez?
It's weird because Alvarez is exactly the same player as Haaland. He obviously he's smaller. He's not
Mm.
as physical. He's not as big a name.
Presses more though, doesn't he? He's more. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
Even then, he doesn't press aggressively like a Carlos Tevez. He's not the same as Aguero in terms of the quality on the ball. It's hard. It's hard. He's a hard mixture. He's a very, very good player, Alvarez. I really like him a lot, but he operates the same spaces that Haaland does. Haaland didn't get anything against United. I don't think Alvarez would have. For me, it's like, do we go back to a false nine? Do we play Grealish, Foden as a false nine, Mahrez on the right? Do you play Bernardo on the right? Do you play Foden down the middle, Alvarez off the left?
So,
It's
do you
always how
think it
do you
needs to
do.
be as dressed? Because what we're saying here, Booth, is you're effectively ripping up the copy book from this season. Effectively, what we're saying is this season's strategy hasn't worked, and we're going to either go back to basics of last season or try something completely different. Is it that drastic? You think something needs to change as significant as that?
Yeah, I think I've always, for me, footballers are lazy, and it sounds crazy. Once the impetus goes, footballers, no matter how well trained you are, look at how Arsenal fell off when Wenger left, and how United fell off when Ferguson left. what you'd expect if a coach has been there for 10 years and you've been coached by the same coach, for example, you'd keep the same momentum, you'd learn things. I think footballers are completely the opposite. Once one thing drops and something else comes in, and what I'm trying to say by that is that as soon as Erling Haaland's come in, the creativity that we had last season, where we had to feed a false nine, we had to get Bernardo getting 6-7 goals, Gundogan 6-7 goals, De Bruyne, all these guys having to pick up goals. I mean, De Bruyne got 4 goals against Wolves last season. I mean, in a single game, he was unbelievable. We're not seeing any of that because footballers are lazy, and they've now been coached to get the ball to Haaland as quick as possible because he can score. All the celebrations when Haaland scores with Foden kind of pointing at him like this guy's crazy. It's actually then reduced Bernardo, Gundogan, Mahrez's level. These guys they're nowhere near the level needed to create goals around Haaland if he has a bad game. For me, it's drastic. Rico Lewis has to start playing football matches. Simple as that. He has to start against Spurs. I dropped both the strikers against Spurs. It's crazy saying that.
That is crazy. So do you think that this comes round? Like, you're 8 points behind Arsenal, which sounds like a lot, and it's therefore Arsenal's to lose. But we've seen City over the years go on ridiculous winning streaks, haven't we? Like, what you've done it before, 16 and things like that, haven't you? Is this do you anticipate that, or are you now fearful for your league title? This is the 3 in a row, man. This is so important.
I know it'd be nice to have. I'm never going to sit here and ask for anything more than a League Cup from what I experienced when I was a kid growing up. So we're lucky to even say we're in a discussion for 3 in a row. I still think we've got the best squad in the league. I think we play the best football in the league on our day. We've not seen it now for a few weeks, which is worrying. The way we got dumped out of the League Cup was shocking. By the end of the first half against Man United, we actually gone 3 halves of football. That's a game and a half of football without a shot on target.
What?
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, we didn't have a shot on target against Southampton. And for 45 minutes against United, we didn't have a shot on target.
See that, when you think about the ability, when you think about the attacking prowess of that Man City squad, that does it doesn't, the harmony's not there, is it? Because the players are obviously good enough. So something is going wrong. Do you think Guardiola's going to get this right? Like, here's the question, Booth. Are you going to win the league?
I think we're going to win the league.
How?
It's
Why?
crazy.
What happens?
Crazy.
Where do you make up these eight points? How do you start winning games again?
Well, if it wasn't for United cheating, well, I don't want to be this kind of biased guy, but if it wasn't for United cheating, we would have been at least 1-0 up against United. I know it was 1 shot on target. We scored 1 goal, but that felt like Mourinho Chelsea. That felt like even Ferguson United. Ugly win. I think we'd have beaten them 1-0 if it wasn't for literally cheating from the referees. Literally some of the worst refereeing decisions you've ever seen in your life, in my opinion. So I think we'd have beaten them 1-0. I know it's a bit crazy saying that. I think we can beat Arsenal. I think we've got a good chance in the FA Cup against them. I think there's a point. They could drop points. They could lose to United. That's their next game, and suddenly 8 points. I've just seen crazier things. And if we could do it against Ferguson's United, where I think it was a little bit more than 8 points when we lost to Swansea, we lost to Stoke, Peter Crouch. I've just seen crazier things where I just think this Arsenal side, even Spurs had a couple of chances in the second half. They're a great side, Arsenal, and they look like Premier League winners elect. But if I had to trust anyone to try and get it off of them, it'd have to be the City side.
See, the problem is this Arsenal team that you're chasing. Yes, they're young and they're new, and Arteta hasn't done it before and all of that, but they're not naive. They're behaving like champions. They look like champions, and pretty much every time they play, they are great. And therefore, you're chasing greatness. You're chasing a wonderful team. And do you know what is so frustrating about it? The team that you're chasing are so good, partially because of your own arrogance. Why on earth? And do you think that it's regrettable? And do you think Guardiola is regretting it? Strengthening Arsenal, not only did it add to the deficiency of Man City because they didn't have Jesus there anymore. They didn't have access to Zinchenko. But that balance that Zinchenko brings on the left, you never replaced him. So you let him go to Arsenal, which is strengthen them, but then you never replaced him. So you're sort of doubly weak. Do you think there was an arrogance that maybe Guardiola didn't envisage Arsenal being a genuine title threat? And do you think he regrets that now?
I think it's a political decision at the club. We want to be seen as a club that does good business, that develops players, sells them for good money. We sold 4 to Southampton. We sold a couple to Premier League rivals. Arsenal came 5th. They came 8th the season before that, 8th before that. They've not been Premier League title challengers to City since the money takeover in 2009, 2010. And I don't think there's anyone else. Look, if Jesus is unhappy and someone like Arsenal comes in, you can't not let him go. We did it with Leroy Sané. He wants to go to Bayern Munich. It's not easy. Look, 10 years ago, Mourinho wouldn't let a player go to Ferguson, for example, or Wenger, or vice versa, or Rafa Benitez at Liverpool. It just wouldn't happen. We get that. But in today's market, we had to sell to someone if they're not happy. Same with, look, Chelsea could be top of the Premier League title. There's an argument that you should, the title race. There's an argument that you should be with the money you spent. And we gave you Raheem Sterling as well. And look where you are. You're in a relegation fight almost. So it's tough. It's tough. We had to sell them. They weren't happy. Zinchenko's the tough one because we've got Nathan Ake there. We've got Sergio Gomez. They're not quite. It's not like we've bought a world class left back to go there. Cancelo's completely out of form. It's tough because I know we'll look back. I know your argument for this. I know that Chelsea done it a few times to Arsenal in terms of giving them players, but if the players aren't happy at City, we're lucky enough to say we don't want to keep unhappy players.
No, I agree, Booth. I agree. Like, the example that I think you're alluding to there is when Chelsea tried to strengthen Arsenal to be a title challenger with Petr Cech. I got no issue with Cech wanting to leave. But do you know what Chelsea did? The PSG wanted Cech. Arsenal wanted Cech. Cech wanted Arsenal so that he could do the school run with his kids. I don't care. Go to Paris. I don't care. Go to Paris, man. Don't strengthen rivals. And look, you've given us Sterling, and luckily for you, it's sort of worked out as you hoped. But you've given, because when you give Zinchenko to Arsenal, not only do you give Arsenal an excellent player on the left who brings poise and balance, but you give them something that is almost worth more than the footballer, because you give them Guardiola. You give them the experience. Like, Zinchenko is a winner. He's won 3 out of 4 league titles. He's a winner. He knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to go to White Hart Lane and win. He knows how to see games like that out. So the Arsenal team, who are very young, the youngest team in the league, they're not naive anymore because you've given them the know-how. And I just wonder if Arteta is looking at this thinking, that was an error. That was an error. Do you regret it, really?
Yeah, on a footballing level, I wish he'd gone to Barnsley. Do you know what I mean? And we just,
or Bayern Munich, or Bayern.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, and maybe this is different for Chelsea with Abramovich, who maybe was more eager to write things off, etc. But I know from the hierarchy at City, we want to be seen as a far more organic club politically. Whether that's true or not, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the finances. But City definitely want to be coming across as a club that, make profit. We're a business. We're sustainable. We don't need an injection of 300 million quid from different investments. And it was the most profitable summer in the history of any football club ever for Man City.
Was it really?
Summer. Yeah, because of we sold 50 million quid for youth academy players to Southampton. Yeah. So I think we made something like 250 million quid in the summer.
Huge.
That's important for the owners. Less important than actually giving someone that came fifth last season an opportunity to strengthen. Plus these kids, Jesus in particular, he was so unhappy, and now he's being played as a striker when he does play for Arsenal. You can't deny someone that. You really can't. Do you know what I mean?
You play Tottenham next, right, in the league?
Yeah.
Do you beat them? Because you've got history with not beating them. They're a side that you don't generally do particularly well with.
No, something's got to change. And if we lose to Spurs, it is over. We've still got a chance. We beat Spurs. If we lose to Spurs and Arsenal win, it's 11 points, which is beyond the joke. But that Spurs side that I saw against Arsenal they're a national embarrassment. I mean, they're more interested in their cheese room at the Spurs stadium. They're more interested in selfies and tourists. I get that. What I saw today was shocking. The defensive unit from Spurs is so unambitious. They're not playing a back five and being aggressive and trying to counter. They're just playing a back five. Please don't smash us. I mean, how is that happening at Tottenham Hotspur? Even with the money that Conte has had at his disposal, they're in a world of pain, Tottenham. And me saying that, Lloris will come out and make some of the best saves you've ever seen in Premier League history against City. Watch it now. He'll be unbelievable. He'll keep a clean sheet. It'll be 0-0.
I've got a terrible feeling that you might be right. Do you know what I said? I said something a while ago on Twitter. I said Tottenham are going to lose to Arsenal and beat City and get, just be so in keeping with Tottenham to gift the league effectively gift the league to Arsenal.
It's the biggest game of their season, bro. I mean, it's the biggest game of their season every year. Is playing the champions of England. They've not won a league title since even I don't think my grandparents were even born.
No,
So
your great granddad, if you could have a conversation with your great granddad, he would tell you that Tottenham are a massive club.
right,
Nobody else,
yeah.
nobody born since then would say that though.
He was born in the Victorian era, so I mean, he had Queen Victoria on the throne and
Yeah.
all that. So fair play to him and her. And, she was a great queen, but that was a long time ago. And I can't stand Spurs.
Boovie, you are hilarious. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. As
Thank
always,
you.
make sure that you check out Boovie's channel. The link to it is in the description below. And we could have Boovie and I could have some news for you coming very soon. I don't think we're allowed to. We're not allowed to talk about it yet, though, are we, Boov?
No, but I just want to say, look, good luck to you next season, the championship, mate. Whatever you say, Rotherham away is not a bad away day. Coventry.
Well, you would know, my friend. You would know. Mate, as always, Boovie, appreciate it, my friend. See you in a bit.